Welcome to Community Conversations. I'm Frederick County Executive Jan Gardner, and joining me today is Stuart Harvey, who's our Director of Elections. Welcome, Stuart.
Morning, Jan.
Well, it's really great to have you here so that you can share the news with the public that we are going to have a new voting system for the elections in 2016. So what can you tell us about the new voting systems?
Well, you might say that everything old is new again, Jan, because we are going back to a paper-based system, which we used in Frederick County over 10 years ago. This system is a little different than we used in the past. A person will be issued on Election Day a paper ballot where they will fill in ovals next to the candidates or the ballot questions of their choice.
Okay, so the objective really is to create that paper trail.
That's true. The General Assembly in 2007 mandated that the state of Maryland go back to a paper-based voting system. I think they wanted to do this largely because of issues surrounding recounts or any questions relating to an election. But the other thing is our old voting system is no longer viable because A, it's no longer made, so B, we can't get parts for it if things start to break down. We had to go to a new voting system.
Okay. Well, I certainly remember the paper ballots with the scanners, which is similar to what we're going back to. And I was used to the new touchscreens. So I guess everybody will become familiar with this new system again. So what kind of training will you have for, to let the voters know that what's to expect when they go to vote, and for all of your election judges and other staff that will be working at the polls?
Well, of course, we train our election judges and the people who are at the polling place on the equipment. Regardless of the voting system, we are always training these individuals so that they have familiarity and can answer voters' questions on Election Day. But prior to the elections, we're going to be doing outreach with the voting system. We've got a number of events that we're going to be lining up.
Okay.
And everybody will be getting a specimen ballot the way they always do prior to an election. And the specimen ballot will have specific information about the voting system. So every registered voter in Frederick County will have information before they go to vote about the voting system.
Okay, well, that's very good. Now, how will you help people with disabilities or seniors or others who have some special need and have to have some assistance to vote or need a different methodology?
On Election Day, there will be a ballot marking device, but it will be very limited. There will be one per polling place, but someone who needs that ballot marking device either because of visual or because they've got some other disability, or maybe they simply prefer to sit rather than stand at one of the voting booths with a piece of paper, they'll be accommodated at the polling place.
Okay, okay. How can somebody who's watching this register to vote if they're not voted, if they're not registered, or if they want to change their address or some other information, maybe their party affiliation?
Well, one of the things that Maryland does is we now have online voter registration where you can either register to vote or make any changes to your existing record.
Okay.
And they can simply go to the state's website, which is elections.maryland.gov, and click on registering to vote. And if they're already registered, they can make a change of party, they can update their address, anything they wish to do. If they want an application mailed to them, they can call us at 301-600-VOTE. That's 301-600-8683. Or they can come by our office at Montague Lane, 355 Montague Lane, Suite 101, when we're open. And our office hours are 7:30 to 4, Monday through Friday.
Okay, so it's really easy then to register to vote or to update your address or other information. Has that helped you to keep an accurate voter record?
The online voter registration is a wonderful way to make sure that the changes that are done accurately, because you're getting an electronic record. You're not trying to interpret somebody's handwriting.
Right.
A lot of times mistakes get made because what we think is a 6 might be a different number, or it's hard to read somebody's address, something along those lines. So using the electronic system, whether you're using the online voter registration at the state, or if you happen to go to MVA and you register to vote or make a change there, all of those records come to us electronically.
Well, we do have people who move from other counties or move within the county, and this is an easy way for them to make sure that their address and their polling location is correct and that they can vote where they now live.
Absolutely.
So I think that's perfect. So do you see any issues with the implementation of the new voting system?
I don't. I mean, we've gone through an implementation before. We went from the paper-based system to the touchscreen, and now, as I said, we're going back to the paper-based system. So I think it's just a matter of voter education and people taking a minute to understand the system. We are going to have links on our website showing the new voting system. The state has pictures out there. And again, if someone has a problem or a question, they can certainly call us before the start of early voting, or if they need to get an absentee ballot, something along those lines.
Okay. Well, while we're talking about voting, can you let people know when primary elections are and when early voting will start? And I think we're adding a new early voting location as well.
Well, we won't be adding that until the general election.
Okay.
So for the primary election, the 3 early voting locations that we've had for the past election will be the same early voting locations at the Frederick Senior Center over on Tawney Avenue, at the Urbana Regional Library, and again at the Thurmont Regional Library.
Okay.
Now, Election Day is April 26th, and the polling places will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Those who want to vote early, the early voting dates are April 14th to the 21st, and the early voting locations are open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. on those days.
Yeah, early voting is very convenient, and I think it was reasonably popular too.
It's getting increasingly popular. We didn't have that many people who voted early in 2010. Excuse me, but we certainly saw a spike in 2012, and then with the 3 locations that we went to in 2014, even more people took advantage of early voting, and I think with the presidential election year, they will this year as well.
Well, we usually have a good turnout for a presidential election as well.
Well, we have some spirited contests on the ballot this year.
Yes.
We have a number of seats that are vacant. Our incumbent U.S. Senator is retiring.
Right.
So I think regardless of party, I think we're going to have a pretty good turnout in the primary election. At least I'm hoping we will.
Okay. Now, I know for the general election you are going to add another early voting location. Do you want to share where that location will be, or do you know that yet?
Well, we've gotten an okay from the organization, and we plan to use the activity center at the Middletown Volunteer Fire Department. It's a huge location. It has great parking, and there is one significant difference with early voting in the general election. The hours will be extended.
Really?
The hours will be 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., but that's just for the general election. The primary, it's going to be 10 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay. Well, that means you'll need to have more election judges and more people working the polls. So if somebody's interested in being trained as an election judge, I know you're always looking for people to work at the polls. How can they contact you for that?
Well, of course, they can contact us by phone, but the easiest way is probably for them to contact us by email, and we have a special email for anybody who wants to be an election judge. It's electionjudge@frederickcountymd.gov. You can walk in during our normal hours. The other thing is you can visit our website, and on our website, on the left-hand side of the page, is a link so that you can actually download an election judge questionnaire, fill it out, and email it back to us at the email address I mentioned earlier.
Well, I do want to take the opportunity to encourage people to volunteer. I mean, there is a stipend that people are paid for this, but, you know, voting is really fundamental to our democracy and to our government system, and I really think election judges play an important role in making sure that voting process runs smoothly and fairly. We've had some great people serve in those capacities over the years, but you know, we try to add more polling locations to make voting more convenient for people, and therefore we need more people to serve as election judges. And so I really think it's a great way for people to serve their community in a relatively limited time frame.
Yeah, and we always have a need for more election judges, and they are the backbone of what we do here in Frederick County in the state of Maryland.
They are. So is there anything else that you'd like to add before we close?
Well, I did want to mention, I mentioned it in passing, but I do want to remind people that if they're going to be away, either on Election Day or during early voting period, they can get an absentee ballot. And those applications are already available online, so you can get those through our website. We've already gotten a number of applications for individuals to get an absentee ballot for the primary and or general election. And when we actually have the candidates, and the filing deadline for the candidates is February 3rd. So once we have a ballot in place, they will go out to those folks that we already have, and we encourage people, if they know they're not going to be available during that time frame, to get an absentee ballot.
Okay. We know that absentee ballots certainly made a difference in the last election. And so, you know, every vote does count, and every vote does matter, whether it's on Election Day or early voting or through absentees. So I know all the people who run for office. I get to know many of them when I've been through that process myself. And, we're all out there working hard to get people to vote. So I really want to encourage people to vote. It is their civic duty, and it is a great way to make sure that your voice is heard in the community.
Absolutely.
So thank you for joining us. We will have future information and demonstrations about the new voting system. 2016 is going to be a big election year with our congressional races and our presidential election. So stay tuned for more to come on our upcoming election cycle.